Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Happy Cinco de Mayo, y'all.
Yeah.
What
It's
is
weird on a
What
Monday,
is Joe's
though.
thing he does?
The Modelo yell. I won't even attempt it because for those of you who listen to XL Primetime, I'll probably end up sounding like one JJ LaSelva when he. Yeah. Not even gonna try it. Only Joe Coward can do it. Maybe Leon. But
I just think you have to roll your R's a little bit with it. But yeah.
There you go. Lauren could probably do it. We should have Lauren try to do it.
But it is Cinco de Mayo, and that means obviously for a lot of people, fun food, maybe a little Mexican-style food, and enjoy the day. Some tequila for you as well. I told you about tomorrow at the baseball grounds. They had a special ticket on sale that ended last week, but it'll be tacos and tequila, so that'll be a whole lot of fun. All right, let's start with some football, ladies. We are going to have Kai Stevens from Jaguars.com join us at 12:40, so I want to have this conversation ahead of that. Now that we're through free agency, obviously, and through the NFL draft, what are the top three position groups on the Jacksonville Jaguars? I think the first two are fairly easy to come up with, but I want to obviously see what y'all think.
Well, what do you believe? Let's start with that, Lauren.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think are the easiest two?
So to me, it's edge and wide receiver. I think other teams in the NFL would love to have the combination of Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker on their team. And certainly the edge depth, maybe we'll see. But as far as starters, those two guys. And I think lots of NFL teams would love to have Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter on their teams.
Okay. And then what happens beyond those two?
Yeah. So for me, that's really the interesting conversation comes up. I could go quarterback if Trevor Lawrence stays healthy.
Oh, no. I mean, let's stay in that wide receiver room, Lauren. What happens after those two in that wide receiver room on the depth chart?
For me, it's De'Ami Brown, a clear 3, and then Parker Washington 4, and then it shakes out from there. Maybe Gabe Davis. I don't know who really is wide receiver 5 at this point. I think we'll have to see a lot more football to shake out, but that's how I would
Your
have
wide
it.
receiver 5 was wide receiver 2-3 last year is how you could look at it.
And also, can he really be your wide receiver 5? Because traditionally, that role is reserved for someone who contributes on special teams, and I don't see Gabe Davis contributing.
So Parker 5?
Right, but so then Gabe Davis is your 4, which, again, shows improvement in the room overall. But ultimately, for me, I think if you were an outsider looking at that room and you see De'Ami Brown and Gabe Davis as your 3-4, you would say, oh, yeah, that's a pretty good room. But I would argue, and maybe it was recency bias and prisoner of the moment and coming off of the 2022 season, when you looked at that wide receiver room and you saw he who must not be named Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, you looked at it with a different lens than looking at this room, which is extremely top-heavy, so long as Travis Hunter becomes who we all believe he will be. But then after that, realistically, and I think this is the same conversation you can have for the offensive and defensive line across the National Football League, you're not supposed to have 5 bona fide stars up and down the room, unless you're the Chicago Bears wide receiver room, because in that case, yes, you do. Point being, I think comparatively to the rest of the league, yes, I think it's a good wide receiver room, but I'm not sure it's one of the best rooms on this team.
Oh, okay. Well, so I'll finish my third one. And I had a struggle between quarterback, if Trevor Lawrence can stay healthy, and if Trevor Lawrence is protected. And obviously now he has weapons, and running back. I really like this running back room from Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, and then the 2 new rookies. So I feel like with Bashal Tutin, there's that huge element of speed that I don't think this running back group had last year. And then, of course, LaKent Allen offering a lot in the passing game. I really like the running back room. Quarterback, I could argue there, but I'll go edge receiver and I'll go running back.
Okay, Taylor.
Yeah, so my initial, when I was going to, I have wide receiver in mind. I had wide receiver running back, though, were my 1 and 2, and then I went to edge.
Okay.
And the reason I still have wide receiver in that group is because kind of what you were saying in the world of if you go to any other teams, there's very few teams that you pretty much look at, okay, here's their 1 and 2, and those are really good wide receivers. The best wide receiver groups in the room, you're looking at those 1 and 2. And then when you get to 3, I think of the Bengals. The Bengals' third wide receiver is Andre Lascivis. I don't even know who that is. Kendrick Pryor and Jermaine Burton. Those are their next wide receivers
I'd say
outside of Jamar and Tate.
Yakachonis is really their number 3, but continue.
Well, that on their depth chart right now, it's Jamar T and whoever Lascivis classes, and then Kendrick Pryor, Jermaine Burton, and Charlie Jones are their next wide receivers. If you go to the Rams, that's another group.
Oh, no,
we've been
it's
talking
not
about.
Lasaivas. It's Yakachonis.
Okay.
That's his name. Yeah,
Okay.
I know. It's a tough one. I
don't even know how to say that.
I only know it because a friend of the program, Marshall Kramsky, loves to say it.
Okay.
And so I feel like every time I watch one of his videos, shout out Marshall with WCPO in Cincinnati, I feel like I learn how to say it a little bit more.
Okay. I don't know how that word translates to that word. But then you go to the Rams, which is another group people are talking about because they have Devontae and Puka Nacua. And after that, it's Tutu Atwell and then a Jordan Whittington and a Xavier Smith. So to me, those are some of the best wide receiver groups you're looking at. And I think that the Jags easily battle those groups right now with Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. at the top. And then I do think that a Diami Brown, I wasn't huge on the signing if he had to be like your number 2. But if you're talking about him being a number 3 wide receiver, I think honestly that's a really good 3.
I mean, they paid him $10 million.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is they like him.
As sour as you are on Gabe Davis from last year, Gabe Davis was a number 2 wide receiver in Buffalo a few years ago. So I do think that you have a wide receiver group that can challenge the majority of them in the NFL, and that's what you're looking at. And then you do have, now that you've been able to add what you have at the top, you do have guys that you can focus a little bit more on the special teams area where you were relying on them to be wide receiver. Parker Washington was your number 2 at the end of the year last year, and now he's sliding down to a 4 or 5 and a special teams guy. But so to me, wide receiver still up there, and it's really hard for me not to put running back group in there because I do still think that league wide, most people would look at Travis Etienne as still a really good running back. And I know, again, there's moments where I think some people get critical, but I think there's too many. We've seen too much good out of Travis Etienne when you have run blockers and when you have an offensive scheme that actually knows how to use the run game and working. And you just go 2 years ago, and people were talking about Etienne possibly being one of the better backs in the league, and because of what happened last year overall offensively, it kind of got taken away. I really like Tank, and I think Tank's that guy that can kind of carry certain moments, and there was times last year where I was wondering why Tank wasn't on the field more in certain situational downs. And then now you add a guy like Bashal Tune, and you still need to see him obviously at this next level, but he could technically be your 3 right now, but in 4 weeks into the NFL, he could be your number 1.
Yeah, ball security will be something to watch for
all 3 of them.
Really, all 3 of those 4 for sure. Mia, so Taylor and I actually went 3 for 3, the exact same, which is shocking. I feel like we always have different opinions, and you probably didn't even consider Trevor Lawrence as far as that.
For a second, I like for once, and not like Trevor. I think if I'm just doing head to head number 1 quarterback versus number 1 quarterback, I think Trevor's ahead of a lot of guys. I just don't know that Nick Mullins ups that to me enough to put that group.
Would
in
Mac
there.
Jones have upped it though?
No, he downs it. He downs it for me.
Had to throw that out there.
Yeah, who you got?
Yeah, no, my number 1 position room is one that has not been mentioned yet.
All right,
and
let's mix it up here.
That
on the Cinco de Mayo.
if I am to make a decision based upon, again, our question for you is what are the best possession groups, the 3 best position groups on the Jacksonville Jaguars right now? I believe the way that you quantify that is when training camp gets underway, which room will see the hardest cuts, the most competition. And for me, I believe that is the off-ball middle linebacker group. And that includes the Sam linebacker, off-ball linebacker. Will it be the 6th-round pick, Jalen McLeod? Will it be Yasir Abdullah? Should you put them in the edge room? I won't at this point. I put them into that big collective with Foye Oluokun, Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma, Jack Kaiser, Ventrell Miller. That's a lot of names that you're going to have to sort through, and probably some tough cuts here, there, unless, of course, you say, no, McLeod's going to be our 4th edge rusher behind Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Emmanuel Agba, which I don't see happening, especially based off the comments from the regime so far since he was drafted.
All right, so your number 1 is linebacker.
Yes, number 1 is linebacker. Shout out to Trent Baalke. You make something that was good, and you make it a strength. Just keep on drafting linebackers, and at some point in time, there's going to be too many names and too many bodies. It has to be the strongest room.
By the way, a quick nugget from Albert Breer, since you mentioned linebackers.
Yeah.
He said that the Jacksonville Jaguars would like to keep Devin Lloyd, but obviously the position of linebacker, when you talk about outside linebacker and inside linebacker, that's all the same when it comes to the 5th-year option and that guaranteed money.
Right.
So they did not want to pay him that price, but they do like him and want to keep him. So I found that interesting.
Well, it's the same reason the Packers haven't picked up a couple 5th-year options so far. It's the same reason that Tyler Linderbaum's 5th-year option was not picked up in Baltimore. It's
because
just
the offensive line is not, there's not a different delineation.
Right.
so the tackle and center are going to be paid the same,
Yeah.
and it's all fully guaranteed according to the new CBA. And you don't want to pay a center. No offense to the centers, even though their job's important, you don't want to pay them the same as.
And
a
no
tackle.
offense to Devin Lloyd, but you don't want to pay a Sam linebacker $13 million when in reality, if he performs well this year, maybe you get a cheaper 2-year friendly team option where you give him a lot of money up front, and then he's looking at somewhere in the ballpark of 6 to 9 per year, and with only X amount of that counting against the cap. So for me, yes, linebacker is the strongest position group on your Jacksonville Jaguars. I do want to make an asterisk. Are we including specialists? Specialists aren't included?
I mean, you can because they are the strongest.
Oh, they're number one. Because they're number one. They're number one if that's the case. Undoubtedly, there's no question for me that they would be number one, and then it would be the linebacker room. But for this argument, we can take the specialists out. I don't know. Text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, YouTube chat. You guys tell us.
Do we include the specialists?
Chime in, 904-641-1010. Do we include the specialists in our discussion of the 3 strongest position groups on your Jacksonville Jaguars? Or is that a slight
They don't take enough snaps.
to the rest of the roster?
That's the problem. They don't take
Well,
enough.
and a lot of your
specialists don't
points
take
are
enough
field
snaps.
goals. Then
Listen, you got 2 Pro Bowlers and one who's probably inching closer and closer by the day. So I would put Edge second, excuse me. And it's only because I'm going to do a 3A, 3B when it comes to wide receiver, running backs. I kind of put them in that same tier together because I agree. I think that the talent is in both the wide receiver and the running back room, but you're also banking on rookie production. The edge room for me is the most proven. You could make the argument of any position group on this roster right now because once again, low bar to clear. We just needed Arden Key here in the city of Jacksonville. And you are, if only based upon his last 5-6 years of performance.
Yeah, that's what you're getting.
You're getting that in Emmanuel Ogbah.
the 6-sack guy.
And you couple that with, hey, maybe if our defense coordinator can effectively scheme up one of these off-ball linebackers that I was just discussing, maybe now you get some production there. Perhaps, oh boy, now we're getting really crazy with it on Cinco de Mayo. Devin Lloyd on 3rd down, you line him up on the edge. He becomes your potential de facto 4th edge rusher. Point is, 1 through 3, I think you'd be hard-pressed, much like the conversation we had about the wide receiver room and offensive line for that matter, where 1 through 5, or in the case of the wide receiver room, 1 through 3, maybe aren't necessarily Pro Bowl, All-Pro. Mm-hmm. And that's where I look at the edge room and I see 3 guys, 2 of whom are Pro Bowl caliber, and a 3rd who's a strong contributor to a playoff team. And that for me says that's depth and that's strength.
Yeah, to me, I would have never put linebackers in this
I'm right there
ever.
with you.
I think that a lot of bodies doesn't mean it's one of the strongest groups, and I think that when I was looking at this, like if you're talking league wide, if someone were to like want to pick players off of your team, maybe Foye. Like Foye is probably the only linebacker in this group that other teams would be like, yeah, we'll take him right now in this moment. That could change by this year. That could very well change because Ventrell, we saw a lot from Ventrell last year.
He has to stay healthy though.
Devin Lloyd is not good in coverage. So I think unless you're one of the teams that only needed him to maybe be the run stopper, maybe go after the quarterback a little, they wouldn't be taking him. The young guys, obviously, you don't even really know where they're playing yet or where they're going to be identified. I'm not the biggest Chad Muma fan in general, and so I definitely wouldn't put him in that group. But I think that, to me, it has the opportunity to be by the end of the year, depending how some of these younger guys, if Ventrell continues to develop, and who knows if they put Devin Lloyd in a spot where he does start to flash a little more, then maybe that changes. But for me, I would have never said the linebacker room.
I wouldn't either, and I would never have said the offensive line either.
Oh,
Like,
me
and
either.
not that anyone
You guys
did,
know
but
I wouldn't have.
Yeah, if we had gone with the 3 worst position groups, then I might have put, honestly, like linebacker in there because like you said, behind Foye, I'm just not convinced that any of these guys are going to be talented enough to be able to make the offensive coordinator have to, strategize against them.
So let me pose it this way. Again, I have 3A, 3B in my position group rankings. I have wide receiver and running back. And the reason I have both of them in the 3rd tier and why there's a question mark and why there's a tie is because you're banking on 2 rookies coming in and contributing for you in that running back room. In the case of the wide receiver room, the hope is that Travis Hunter is plug and play. The hope is that he immediately emerges as a number 2 wide receiver, but that's still banking on potential. When it comes to the linebacker room, well, yes, the play has not necessarily been as quality as you would like. It's a chicken or the egg question. Is that the talent of the players, which Chad Muma was drafted around the same neck of the woods in that 3rd round that once upon a time Logan Wilson was by the aforementioned Cincinnati Bengals. He drew comps to him pretty good player out in Cincinnati. Devin Lloyd was a first-round pick. Multiple teams had first-round grades on him. I understand he fell to 25, but ultimately he would have been selected at some point in time. And so that's where it's a chicken or the egg question of, is there actually talent and experience pelts on the wall in that room comparatively to the others? And in turn, is coaching really what has been holding them back?
And I'd say that on the other side, too. I'd argue that the running back room isn't counting on the rookie running backs to do anything, because I would argue that Travis Etienne and Tank are really good backs and that they were in a bad coaching experience last year behind a bad offensive run blocking line. So to me, the wide receiver room, yeah, you're counting on Travis Hunter being a solid number 2 wide receiver, but you're not asking Travis Hunter to even be your number 1 wide receiver.
Right. And to me, I'm confident that a rookie can have a lot of production because we saw
BTJ.
what Brian Thomas Jr. did last season. And he's not the only example, obviously, league-wide as far as rookie receivers immediately contributing.
But is Brian Thomas Jr. the outlier?
What do you mean?
Puka Nacua would
Point
tell
being,
you.
We think we saw a lot of wide receiver, all the rookie wide receivers last year as well.
But again, is that group the outlier? Can we just expect immediately people are going to come, wide receivers are going to come into the league and they have that capability? I'm devil's advocate
I think if you're trading up to the number 2 spot for one, then you are expecting that.
I also think with the way that high school football, college football is now with the spread and 7-on-7s in the offseason, like these guys, these receivers are much, much, much in a better position than they ever have been to be able to come in. They are much readier. They are much more prepared and ready to come in and step right into the NFL season.
I bring the counter argument up just to say maybe we also need to, and this is kind of reflecting upon it, we need to appreciate what Brian Thomas Jr. did more in the grand landscape of NFL rookie wide receivers in the last 10 to 20 years. That's what I think. That's the point I'm getting at, is we need to appreciate that not everyone comes in and does that with a 9-game performing Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones under center for the bulk of the season.
And Liam Cohen's may be looking at this, and we'll continue the conversation on the other side, but Liam Cohen may be looking at it completely differently than we are. It may be Brian Thomas Jr., De'Ami Brown, Parker Washington, and Gabe Davis. They're expecting more out of them for this season, and they're going to bring Travis Hunter along. I'm not saying he's not going to be on the field, but they're not going to necessarily target him the second most amount of times this season because he is a rookie, and they do know that they have experienced vets around him. All right, we'll continue the Jaguars conversation on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chiefs Hour Monday on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Joe Cowart,
That's the quiet cool.
Matt Hayes,
Come on, help us win.
and Leon Searcy.
All right, let's break someone's clavicle on 3.
XL Prime Time.
1, 2, 3.
2 to 4 weekdays on 1010XL. Now, the Florida Gator Report on 1010XL. Brought to you by San Jose Collision.
The train keeps on rolling for the Gators baseball team, making a statement with a sweep over the South Carolina Gamecocks over the weekend, including a 22-run performance in Game 2, followed by an 8-0 shutout to close out the series in Game 3. For the Gators women's lacrosse team, they locked up the number 4 overall seed in the NCAA tournament and will face Mercer in round 1 on Friday.
Mia here for Closets by Design. It's been a few months since they built my custom closet organization system, and I cannot say enough about how happy I am with it. With Mother's Day around the corner, I've been thinking about how much energy goes into caring for everyone else and how little time we take to create spaces that care for us. That's why Closets by Design specializes in custom solutions for every lifestyle and budget, because moms deserve to feel taken care of too. Call them to schedule your free in-home consultation and to receive 40% off, plus an additional 15% off, or visit closetsbydesign.com or give them a call today at 1-800-293-3744.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. You've heard us talk about it. Window World, the #1 window replacement company in the USA, selling over 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years.
That's a lot of satisfied customers, and why J.D. Powers has awarded Window World Best in Customer Satisfaction 3 out of 4 years.
Window World stands behind their slogan, simply the best for less. With Window World, you get top quality windows at a price that leaves more of your money in your bank account, and you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement industry. When compared to our competition, there is none. See for yourself. Call the competition. Get quotes from them. But before you buy, get Window World's free estimate and compare the quality of the windows and the price.
You'll see.
And when your new Window World windows are installed and they're saving you money on your energy bills, if anything goes wrong with those windows, Window World and I will be there to make it right. That's my guarantee.
Call Window World today. Start saving money on your new windows and your energy bills and take vacation with your savings. Window World, online at windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors and siding.
Get a healthy start in 2025. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to encourage you to get healthy and stay healthy this year. They have a dedicated team who are committed to providing quality care. The goal is to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Visit duval.floridahealth.gov to learn more about their health programs and services. That's duval.floridahealth.gov.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels.
All right, gentlemen, we've trained for this. We've battled the elements. But if there's one thing we can't afford, it's letting the heat take us out before the big game.
But, Coach, the AC at my house is busted. I barely got any sleep last night.
Well, Johnson, you should have called Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. They're the real MVPs. Now let's cue the cool music.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. The coolest cats in town.
Tired of wrestling with your shower curtain like it's a slip and slide gone wrong? Ditch the drama and say hello to a smooth, stylish glass shower enclosure from Baker Glass. Why go glass? It's clean, elegant, and makes your bathroom look huge and brighter. Give your shower a makeover and feel like you're in a spa without the price tag. I'm Mac at Baker Glass. Call me and get ready to love your new shower. Let's make your shower great again. Remember, Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband-wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at goosehead.com.
She's seen and heard all over 1010XL's video and social channels.
Whether the big cats are at the bank or on the road, I'm there too. Follow my updates all season long, on air and online.
All things Mia are driven by Arlington Toyota.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's the Mangler.
Are your monthly bills keeping you up at night, wondering how you got so behind? Hey, I'm Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. I get it. Life is expensive now. Insurance, groceries, cars. And then there's the credit card debt with those obscene interest rates. It's time to regain your financial freedom. And that's what we offer at Loan Pronto, using the power of the equity in your home. We have multiple ways to get you the cash you need, and most clients close in 2 weeks or less, and many don't even require an appraisal. And listen, rates have been plummeting recently. We just locked a homeowner in with an APR in the low fives, saving her over $1,000 per month, and put $10,000 in her pocket. Life-changing money. Whether you're drowning in debt, have a nosebleed rate you got last year, need home improvements, or simply need cash in your pocket, we can help you accomplish this goal in record time. Call us today and get started with no hard credit pull, just a conversation. LoanPronto.com, 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. That's LoanPronto.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
I don't want to hear no bar songs out on this boat. No back road anthems when I'm out here trying to float.
I don't know if any other shows plays Nico Moon. like we play some Nico
lot of
Moon.
Nico
This is his brand new song, Boat Song, came out on Friday. All right, we were just talking about the Jaguars' best position groups. What about the Jaguars' worst position groups? Mia, you went last before, so you are now first.
All right, I'm on the clock.
That's right.
Okay. Where to begin?
Where to begin?
I think let's start with this. Let's put a bow on the best by seeing what the Heeligans think, or excuse me, by what the Heeligans believe are the best position groups. I saw many of you on the YouTube chat chiming in that opening segment about the defensive back room. 868 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, which you can access at 904-641-1010. Agrees. Running backs, defensive end, edge rusher, and defensive backs. The defensive back room is obviously an interesting talking point because I think that akin to the conversation about linebackers, where there's a lot of names, is there a lot of quality? That is what remains to be seen. And
I think you have to split the defensive backs up.
Correct.
For the sake of this conversation.
Corners, safeties. Yeah. And I think both rooms, clearly through their actions in both pro free agency and the NFL draft, the Jaguars thought that those rooms fit into the category of position groups that needed to be strengthened. Mm-hmm. And so with that said, I think it's fair to put the safety room in the bottom three just because of the moves that have been made.
Definitely me.
And again, the unproven nature of we don't know what these two rookies are. We still don't know what Eric Murray will look like in Anthony Campanelli's system. And so I think it's fair to put the safety room there for that reason.
And they could end up being a group or a position group of strength by the end of the season. If Caleb Ransaw and Eric Murray, let's say they're the two starters, are good, this conversation drastically changes.
I would also put the tight end room in that category, and it's not because of the talent. Yeah, it's just it's not because of Brenton Strange. It's mostly just because you have two players who have predominantly been blocking tight ends in the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan system. I loved Hunter Long coming out of Boston College. I thought that he would translate into more of a pass-catching tight end once he got to the National Football League. Hasn't been the case. Could that be the case now? Certainly. Patrick Murtaugh coming off of that gruesome foot injury he suffered during training camp. And so it's Brenton Strange and a couple of blocking tight ends.
Yeah, what happens if Brenton Strange gets hurt?
Correct.
But how much are they really going to use him because of the aforementioned conversation between the receivers, the running backs, and things like that? But yeah, he's your only true pass-catching tight end on the roster. And why did you not keep Evan Ingram when the room looks like this? And you had a chance
could be fascinating once we get to the season.
Yeah.
I'm not taking the bait. I know you all want me to put the offensive line and the defensive line here. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put them in that middle tier of improving and perhaps better than we thought. Not in the offensive line's case, but in the case of the defensive line, because, again, you have players who have had success in the National Football League, in Devon Hamilton and Eric Armstead, who will ultimately not be playing hockey shift rotation defensive line play this year. Additionally, Eric Armstead will be playing on the interior, which is a massive difference, if only from what we've saw during his time in San Francisco. And certainly the two young players in Jordan Jefferson and Mason Smith, there were flashes last year, nothing to cry home about, but ultimately I wouldn't put them in this category of one of the worst position groups on the team. Because I think, again, comparatively, I think it's not too shabby.
All right, so you have safety tight end. I also have safety tight end. What's your third one?
That's the problem. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Okay.
Come back to me.
What you got?
Yeah, so safety definitely is my number one. I don't love Eric Murray. Darnell Savage is all right to me. Caleb Ransaw, I think we're just expectant. I hope, and I do like him, but how quickly does he catch on? That defensive back change is one of the more difficult ones in the NFL, and everybody I ever do a podcast when I talk about that, they say it's the most difficult transition, the defensive back room. So we'll see how quickly. Antonio Johnson, I feel like every year I root for him, and I think it's going to be that big step. Okay, this is the year, and it just hasn't quite happened yet, but maybe with the right coaching and things around him, it falls into place. But it's hard for me to not put them in there. And then, tight end was my second also, just because I think after Brenton Strange, it's a little scary. If something happens to him, you truly, and how much are they going to use him? Yeah, I don't. When you go back to the way that Liam Cohen used the tight ends in Tampa Bay, it wasn't insane, but he also has three of the best wide receivers, so that helped him a little bit not be able to. But there were still a lot of moments where they were pieces, especially in the red zone, to his offense. So you'd still like to have another one that you could count on a little bit more being pass catching. And then I wouldn't be true to myself if I didn't say offensive line. I still think there's a lot of questions there for me. I wasn't big on either free agent that they got that look like they will be starting. We will see. I like the Wyatt Milam pick a lot. I do. But again, it's a rookie, so you're counting on him. Is he going to beat out Ezra? Is it still going to be Ezra? We're going to be having that conversation for a while. Walker Little, I just still think we got to see. We got to see what that looks like in a full season of him playing left tackle. And Anton had a rough year last year. So does Anton bounce back and we see a little bit more? If not, this offensive line could look just as bad as it has, and that scares me.
Yeah, I could go offensive line for sure with the third. I went safety, tight end, and then, because again, I look at it, what other NFL teams, what position groups would they look at the Jags and say, no, we don't really want any of those guys? And so for me, I do think there are pieces on the offensive line other teams would want. And so I will go with defensive tackle just because even though the Jaguars clearly now like their defensive tackle room, that's why they didn't draft one. But to me, we just haven't seen enough of these guys. Obviously, we haven't seen them at all in Anthony Campanelli's scheme, but we haven't seen them do enough to qualify to be starting defensive tackles in the NFL. And when you're trying to win a bad division, you still need interior pass rush. Yeah. And you've got to get to C.J. Stroud, and you've got to get to Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, whoever ends up playing quarterback there. And you've got to get to Cam Ward. And we haven't seen this group of defensive tackles do that here in Jacksonville. Armstead has done it in the past with the 49ers, but not here in Jacksonville. All right, so our best three, we all had edge, we all had receiver, and then a mixture of running back, and Mia, you also had linebacker. And then worst, safety, tight end, we're all pretty much in alignment with that. And then a sprinkling of other ones throughout, offensive line, defensive tackle.
Trenches.
Yeah, trenches. And did you come up with a third, Mia?
Yeah, I guess I have to go defensive line just because I'm not going to say cornerback room, and I think we've said all the other rooms. So I have no choice but to pick defensive tackle by process of elimination, because I do think that the cornerback room has been strengthened. And while, yes, you're banking on Jarian Jones moving seamlessly to the outside, and yes, you're banking on, a new piece in Jordan Lewis. More importantly, you're banking on Tyson Campbell staying healthy for a full season, because I think if you don't have him, that changes the depth and the quality and the perception of that room. I think they have a lot of players who can play the slot, and that goes for both the cornerback room and the safety room. I don't know if there is enough grass to be covered by that many players versus the perimeter, which I still have questions about. And if you were to lose Tyson Campbell for any stretch of time, that would be a bit problematic.
Yeah, certainly. All right, we will talk to Kai Stevens from Jaguars.com on the other side, get her thoughts. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. It is a Big Chief Tire Monday. You can find them online at WeKeepJacksRollin.com. Almost time for another oil change for me, so I will head to one of the 5 Big Chief Tire locations. It's 10 to Next on 92.5 FM.
Serving up sports talk with special First Coast ingredients.
These are delicious.
1010XL.
Let's bring out the cake.
Jacksonville Sports Radio.
It's May, and that means it's Founders Month here at Sonny's Barbecue. Every Wednesday, we're celebrating with $7 pork big deal served with a sidekick and a drink, or one of our pork and rib combos for just $11. It's our way of saying thanks for letting us be your local pitmasters. So stop in for great deals on the Q you crave. Founders Month specials at Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminex. Do you know that mosquito bites could lead to heartworm for your dog or cat? When mosquitoes show up, pet parents want them gone. Terminex takes mosquitoes down fast. They did at my house for my pup because we know that pets are part of the family. They do what it takes to help protect them. When mosquitoes show up, so does Terminex. Don't live with a mosquito problem. Terminex it. Visit Terminex.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's Terminix.com.
Hi, folks. It's Frank Frangie. Look, when it comes to glass needs around the home, there's one name I trust, Lee and Kate's Glass. Those beautiful custom glass shower enclosures, maybe a new mirror, a glass tabletop. They can even replace your foggy or cracked glass without having to replace the whole window. Lee and Kate's is local. They're family-owned. They've been a part of our community since 1926. Boy, they've taken care of me, including our brand-new offices at Walk-Off Charities. They did a great job. I promise they'll do the same for you. Visit LeeandKatesGlass.com.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. The local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
Homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Protect your home and your wallet with Universal Roof and Contracting. Save 15% on roof replacements and repairs now through May 31st. Financing is available with payments as low as $115. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700, offices Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Jeff Prosser here for Lloyd's Heating and Air. Need a leader for commercial, retail, multifamily, or hospitality projects? Or top-tier residential service? No gimmicks, no mascots, just real expertise and hard work. As your trusted statewide mechanical partner and local family-owned team, Lloyd's is the name Northeast Florida counts on. Visit Lloyd'sHeatingandAir.com. Lloyd's Heating and Air, keeping you comfortable in every season.
Hey Jacksonville, Lauren Brooks here. Summer heat is on the rise, but don't sweat it. Big Chief Tire has your back with $50 off all AC services. Whether your system needs a quick recharge or a full repair, their expert team will keep you cool and road ready all season long. With 5 locations across Jacksonville, trusted service is always nearby. Visit WeKeepJacksRollin.com or call 904-932-0950 to schedule your AC service. Big Chief Tire keeps Jacks rolling.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On May 5th, 1969, Milwaukee Bucks signed the number 1 NBA draft pick after winning the pick with a coin flip against the Phoenix Suns. Star UCLA center Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Hacker here, and let's talk sincerity. You know, there's a big difference between someone tossing you a casual, hey, how you doing, and genuinely asking, no, really, how are you doing? At Awaken 180, I felt that sincerity every single week while dropping 122 pounds, and I still feel it every month in free maintenance for life. Sure, seeing that number plunge on the scale was incredible, but what truly pushed me across the goal line? My amazing Awaken 180 coaches. They coached me up like I was prepping for draft day, always in my corner, sincerely invested in my success, and check this out. I'm going on a cruise in a couple of weeks, complete with formal night. Now, normally, cameras and I have a strained relationship. I hated taking pictures, but thanks to Awaken 180, the camera and I have made peace. No more ducking photos. Want results you can actually keep? Do what we all did and call 844-346-1800 or book online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Reclaim a pain-free life with Rebound Rehab. If you've been injured or simply feeling the effects of an active life, you can rely on Rebound Rehabilitation to get you back in the game. Sitting on the sidelines isn't any fun. Trust Rebound Rehab's team of trained physical therapists to get you back up to speed and feeling full again. Now more convenient than ever. 11 locations to serve you, including new offices in Riverside across from St. Vincent's, Point Meadows, and Middleburg. Just log on to reboundrehab.com to see all they've got to offer.
Catch Gators baseball all season long on 1010XL. Pitched by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. And Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Florida Gators.
Looking for a great place to enjoy some craft creations and soak up some scenery? Fernandina's Mocama Beer Company is a must-see and must-try. Nassau County knows it. Visitors need to find out about it. Mocama means near the big water where the sun is born. And if you visit their tap room in Fernandina Beach, you'll see how they've mastered equal parts precision and art in creating great flavors from IPAs to Pilsners, lagers, and sours, plus plenty more. Mocama.com, Mocama Beer Company. Start an adventure and find them in Fernandina.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Kai Stevens from Jaguars.com joins us now. Kai, thank you so much.
Thank you. A little Mariah intro. I appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. We got to play you in with the right 90s person. All right, Kai, we had this conversation last week and kind of continues. Who do you think will be the Jaguars' person with the third most catches on the team? If we assume that the most receptions go to Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, and that may be a wrong assumption, but for the sake of the question, who do you think will end up with the third most receptions?
Oh, that's tricky. I mean, it could go De'Ami Brown. I feel like they want Travis Etienne to be a little more involved in the passing game. I think they would love him as an option. I don't know how much that's actually going to come to fruition, but that would be great if they could do that.
Lauren coming in hot with the hard-hitting question right off the top at you. I wanted to segue a bit here, Kai. We just spent the first two segments of today's program, which we appreciate you hopping on Helmets and Heels on this Big Chief Tire Monday. We discussed the top 3 quality in terms of depth position groups on the Jacksonville Jaguars versus perhaps the bottom 3. We'll stay a bit positive. What 3 position rooms do you believe are the best on the Jacksonville Jaguars as we get set for rookie mini camp this upcoming weekend? And then, of course, the offseason program continuing with OTAs on May the 19th.
I will start out with my favorite room, which I'm most excited about, which is offensive line, because I feel like so many years we've been talking about how it's a problem area or area of concern just in terms of depth. But I feel like I was just talking about this at lunch. It's one of those things where I'm not sure who the starters are going to be. And that's kind of exciting because I feel like there's a lot of different people that are going to be challenged for their position as a starter on the offensive line. And that's kind of something we haven't seen a lot of recently, like maybe at least the last couple of years. It's been pretty obvious who it's going to be, and then maybe if they can get enough depth or not at the offensive line. So I'm really excited about that. Obviously, with the addition of Travis Hunter to wide receiver, that's pretty exciting. I think I don't know, the third. I mean, there's a million running backs now, so I guess I'll go with them as my third option, just because there's so many. So I guess in terms of depth, that's definitely there. In terms of need, I know we've talked a lot about the defensive line. I'm not overly concerned about that because I am kind of excited to see what Mason Smith can do with a different defensive coordinator, and also putting Eric Armstead back inside is something we're forgetting. He did not play his position all of last year pretty much. So putting him back inside, I think, fortifies it in a way that kind of some people may be overlooking in the fact of not addressing that area. Safety is still a concern, obviously. They gave up a ton of big plays last year. So for me, until I see that switch over, that is going to be my number one concern. I know they've talked about putting Caleb Ransaw in at safety, kind of using him there. I know there might be a bunch of different packages of where they're going to move people around in the defensive backfield, but my concern is definitely still there.
Let me ask you a quick follow-up, Kai, because you're in the building, and so you have you have an interesting perspective on Liam Cohen and how he's built his staff and how they plan on building this team. What position group or even what player do you believe is going to benefit the most from a new coaching staff and from a bit of a change of scenery, even if they were in Jacksonville last year? Who benefits the most from that?
And I think it's a little bit of a loaded question, but I think the whole running back room will benefit from this because the focus, like I said, with the offensive line, so much of that is redoing that and establishing the run and open things up for Trevor. So Trevor eventually will get the benefit of all of this, but I think getting the running game going is going to be the main focus off the bat, so that Trevor has options to throw the football to. So I feel like getting an offensive line that's focused on that, and obviously protecting Trevor Lawrence as well, but setting up the run and being, a lot of the people they brought in, that's kind of their calling card. They like to do that. They like to run block. Like, that's one of the things they're interested in doing. So I think their running backs should benefit from that.
Kai, when we talk about the buzzword from this offseason, the intangibly rich, and now that you've sat down and you've been able to have some conversations with these rookies, share a little bit about just the vibe of these guys coming in and those personalities that you're seeing and this culture that they kind of feel like is flipping here and pretty quickly.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure we've talked a lot about, they have a lot of, either six-year seniors or people that have played at a couple different schools. So they like that experience that they're bringing in terms of they've played a lot of football, right? These aren't necessarily kids that have played a couple of years of college football. They played a lot of football, and a lot of them are versatile in the sense that they've played multiple positions. They're willing to play multiple positions, whatever keeps them on the field. And just that, you got to love football, love ball. We talk about that all the time, and that's easy to say, but a lot of these guys, that is their focus, is specifically football. And I know it's good to have other hobbies. I'm not knocking on any of that, but it's always good when you have someone that is in the building every day and wants to be here every day. And a lot of these guys are that, and they've had opportunities. I know a lot of them, I think it's Tootin and McLeod as well, start at smaller schools, moving up, having success at multiple levels, learning new systems. That's impressive to them because obviously making the jump to the pros is difficult for even really talented athletes. So having that experience, I think we're happy with that. And a lot of it, I think we'll see kind of come together when it comes to training camp, because as much as we talk about draft and develop, I think I would assume James Gladstone thinks a lot of these guys can challenge, if not start, at least the first couple of picks that they made, obviously Travis Hunter. But I know Wyatt Milam is someone they think could potentially start out of the gate. Caleb Ransaw is someone that they're looking at. So those are a couple of names that I know they are hoping can contribute right away.
Kai, I know we have their 40-yard dash times, but I would like Jaguars.com to have a 100-yard dash. And I would like to see Bashal Tootin, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, anyone else who this Jags team think is fast on the roster, and get them out there for a 100-yard dash and see who's truly the fastest.
Oh, gosh. I'm sure they would love to do that. Whether they'll be allowed to do that, I do not know.
Yeah, very true.
But I would love to see it, too.
Yeah, I think that's what they spoke to us a lot is how fast these guys are. And is that something that you can tell as a theme throughout the rookie class?
I mean, that's certainly a theme that they went with. Obviously, a lot of just physicality and then speed. So things that, probably lacking a lot of last year. In terms of mindset, we can talk about that a lot. But if you're not talented, if you're not physical, if you're not fast, it doesn't matter whether you have the other intangibles that they talk about. So those were certainly a focus. Clearly, the running back very fast. Also run blocking. Pass blocking as a running back is a big thing. I know LaQuint Allen kind of at that toss-up in the 7th round there, but he's one of the best pass blockers that they have running backs available this year. So I know that's a focus of what they really want to see out of the running backs that play the most this year. So that's a focus for them. But, yeah, clearly speed is going to be something that they value on offense and defense.
Kai Stevens, team reporter for your Jacksonville Jaguars, joining us on the Checkmate Coatings hotline. You can find her on X at Kainani. I'm pronouncing that right?
Kainani. Yeah.
Kainani Stevens. There we go. Kainani Stevens on the Twitter machine. I am still going to call it that. So does Kai. You do too, right?
Yeah. Yes, I'm fully Twitter.
Yeah, we're still it's still the bird machine. It's still the bird machine to us. Kai, let's segue here a bit. Beyond the players, you've been in the building the last 4 or 5 months. The chaos that was the month of January. We actually were reflecting in our multimedia team and promotions meeting this morning how traditionally, if you don't make the postseason, January and February can be quiet months. It was not the case here in Duval County this past offseason. In terms of being a professional working at the Miller Electric Center, independent of if you are an offensive lineman, a multimedia producer, a marketing executive, how have things changed in the last 5 months?
It's just, I described it, I don't know if I said this last time we talked, but it's just a breath of fresh air. It's different. Obviously, when a team is losing and they're not playing well, it's a bit of a dark cloud over everybody, and you kind of feel that energy in a room. And the fact that there are new front office people. Obviously, there's still a ton of people that worked here before as well, but just the vibe is different. And when you come into work and people are smiling and they say hi to you, and it's just a different energy, and that gives everybody else a little uplift to their day is how I describe it. So it's a lot more open. I mean, we have voluntary workouts going on right now in the field, and I don't know the exact number, but there's got to be 75%, I would guess, at least turnout for the voluntary portion of this. Wanting to work with the new coaching staff. They want to be out there right now. And that's great to see. A lot of the guys do their own workouts on the side in the off season, but a lot of them are here now working with their new coaches, which shows me that they're invested as well. So it makes it a lot easier for us to kind of, obviously we're not the ones out on the field playing, but you feel the energy when they're losing it. It weighs in on us as well. So having this new regime, it's very different. Obviously Tony Baselli, who worked with us a lot, is helping with all of that stuff too. So Tony's always got the energy. So that's good stuff to be around.
Tony definitely does always have the energy. Kai, when we're talking about Travis Hunter, because that's going to be one of the biggest names that not just here in Jacksonville, but everybody in the NFL world are going to kind of be following along with. And they've already, spoke on him having that focus on the offensive side of the ball and maybe some packages defensively. But what are your expectations as we head into rookie mini camp and OTAs and then camp of how much that Coach Camp and Liam Cohen are going to be fighting over having Travis Hunter's time?
They're definitely going to be involved in a power struggle. I have no doubt whatsoever in who's going to have him. But I'm sure Cohen's going to win out just because he's head coach. But I think what's exciting is they don't know exactly what it's going to look like, right? They're committed to it. And I think it's exciting to see they're very much in on it with the nutrition staff, the trainers, figuring out what this is going to need to look like, what his availability, does he need to practice on both sides of the ball every day? It's going to be kind of a fluid situation, specifically in training camp, I'm sure, as they kind of figure that out. But then also just, seeing him get to this level, as focused as Travis Hunter is, as good as he is, he still has a lot more that he can do, developing his routes, becoming better, more efficient on offense, and then learning the little things. A lot of what he does on defense is instinct. So I don't think he'll be required to do as much on defense, at least right out of the gate. There'll be more packages and whatnot. So for that, I think that'll help. And, whether it's red zone or whatever, whenever he's utilized. But I think just seeing him develop as well with the amount that he wants to get better, that focus, that drive that he has, it's going to be exciting.
Kai, one name we don't talk about that much because he's not the play caller, but offensive coordinator Grant Udinski. Have you had a chance to sit down with him?
A little bit. Nothing official, nothing we've put out, but he did the Ozone podcast with John Ogier, and a lot of his philosophies are very interesting. A lot of what is kind of cool is we talk about collaboration a lot, right? And I feel like a lot of people can say that and they don't necessarily do that, but in this building they really do. Like, everyone's talking to everybody. They all seem to work on these things together. A lot of them are new to their positions, right? Like Liam Cohen, first-time head coach, Grant Udinski, first-time coordinator, Coach Camp as well. So it's like they are very much all in that position where they want to listen and work with each other. No one thinks they know better than anybody else and that they can just do it by themselves. So everything really does feel like a collaborative effort at this point, which is a little bit of difference of how we've seen things work, right? Like, the way the coaching staff kind of functioned before really did feel like Doug Peterson was in charge of the offense, and then whoever was the defensive coordinator at the time was in charge of the defense, and they kind of just did their own separate things. But now it does feel a little bit more uniform. It feels like everybody's kind of pulling the same way and working the same way.
As we get ready to wrap with you, Kai, I'm curious, through the 4 months since Liam Cohen was hired, in the 3+ approaching 4 months since Tony Baselli took on the role as executive vice president, you, Patrick Cavanaugh, the folks at the in-house video team have been very vocal about the access that these men have graciously opened their arms and said, yes, if we can show it to our audience, if we can show it to the fan base, we want them to see, because we want them to understand, and to understand the why, which is a very common theme that we like to discuss here on Helmets and Heels. I'm curious, what for you has been a moment where you've been like, wow, okay, we get to put this out there into the world, and this signals a shift philosophically, not just from a in between the lines on the grass standpoint, but how this regime looks at media and how they look at having that connection with the fan base?
Yeah, it's changed our access completely. James Gladstone, when he was with the Rams, he was kind of in charge of working with their content team and what was allowed to be used and what went on in terms of what they shared. So he completely understands it. Obviously, having younger front office in general, they understand the importance of content creation. And I think it has to be the Travis Hunter stuff, right? So that's obviously something they had in place for many weeks and weren't going to pull the trigger until they made sure that the first pick the Titans went the way that they expected it to. So for us, we, had a little sneak peek of some of that stuff ahead of time, right? Talking about it and them wanting to share that with us so that we can promote that, and them being happy to share that information. There's not a lot of people that would have pulled off that trade necessarily anyway, but then to kind of keep it under wraps as well, right? So they wanted to share that information. They want the fans to know. I think it's exciting. I'm sure fans have heard more from James Gladstone than they ever did probably from some former GMs. So that's exciting as well. And for us, just to be trusted with that material and sharing and we can be a little more upfront with a lot of things, and just we're able to share that with the fans. And obviously the fans want to know what's going on behind the scenes. And now I feel like they really are getting a clear picture of that.
Kind of along the same lines, Kai, when it comes to the differences of how these previous off seasons have gone compared to this one, because the big one that everybody talked about was not having those top 30 visits. How much different did you just see that time frame, especially between like a February and March when everything was kind of coming together to the draft, when it comes to them approaching that and the whole process of leading up to the draft?
Yeah, so James Gladstone, notoriously the Rams never really take 30 visits. What they do, and they didn't do that here this year, they didn't have anyone come in for their visits. What they kind of do is they either go to where the player is or where they're from and kind of meet with them that way. And it's reported differently, so then there's not always a heads up to the league of, oh, they're looking at so-and-so. They prefer to do that. They also prefer to see the players in their environment and kind of see how they function and get a little bit more, less of a job interview vibe, a little more of how they actually work day to day and talk to the people that work with them. So that's kind of the way they go about it. And also a lot of it is relying on talking to the people around them, right? Like when I talked to James Gladstone about Jack Kaiser, who's like, oh, I've called like his high school coach. I've talked to like so-and-so. Like they've talked to like 20 different people and trying to get the deal on what someone's personality is like. That's a lot of what you're trying to get out of like some of those 30 visits is whether they're going to be a fit for your team. You've obviously watched the film. You feel how you feel about the player. It's more a personality type thing. So utilizing that, also leaning on your scouts and your resources of people that have met with them, know their family, know their coaches, know what they're going to be like, what their work ethic is like, what that's going to work like. Those are more, I think James Gladstone feels more comfortable looking at the tape, feeling like he knows what he wants, but then that other kind of stuff, he leans on the people around him to let him know what kind of the details of that are rather than necessarily having those official 30 visits and making it like putting it down on paper and kind of doing it that way.
Kai, I liken those, the ways the Rams do it and the way the Jags do it to the hometown visits on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette.
Yes, I think it's very similar.
All right, the schedule comes out in 9 days. We cannot wait.
They've got some cool stuff cooking up for that. So they don't officially tell us the schedule, I think, until like the day before. They're very like hush-hush with it. They keep it. I think they move it back and forth a lot because they're trying to like figure out, after the draft, who's on what team and what teams they want to do in prime time. So they keep it pretty hush-hush until a day or two before, and then we've got a cool little video coming out for that. Our social department's been working on. It's going to be pretty neat. And then, so then we'll all know when and where and all the games are going to be. I'm very much looking forward to that myself.
I love it. Well, we really appreciate your time today, Kai.
Thanks, ladies. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Kai Stevens, Jaguars.com team reporter, and she does a fantastic job taking all of us behind the scenes when it comes to your Jacksonville Jaguars. We will get it to the Kentucky Derby on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday. You can find them online at wekeepjacksrollin.com. It's 1010X on 92.5 FM.
It's a high-speed chase to the checkered flag.
Off the corner, to the line, the checkered flag is waving.
Sunday at Kansas, powered by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234 and 1010XL.
The joys of home ownership. Until the plumbing backs up, the AC goes out, or your septic system decides to act up. The good news? You don't have to call 3 different companies when things go wrong. Just call my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. They're your one-stop shop for plumbing, septic, and air conditioning all under one roof. So whether it's a leak, a clog, or your system just won't cool, they've got you covered. Don't take my word for it. Check out their 5-star reviews on Google. From the moment you call to the moment the tech solves your issue, you will get first-class service every step of the way. Give them a ring at 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. One call does it all.
Spring has sprung, and so have the bugs. It's Hayes Carline and my friends at Kingfish Pest Control offer an exclusive $99 spring special. That's right, your initial pest control service is just $99. And if you call today, they'll include a free one-time mosquito treatment. Kingfish Pest Control is family-owned, 5-star rated with no binding contracts and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Call them now to book your service. Only at Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less.
Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Fantastic news here. Due to overwhelming response, Beers Diamonds extending their amazing earring and bracelet sale for Mother's Day. Hicken here. So now through Mother's Day, you can still save up to 40% off diamond earrings and diamond tennis bracelets. It's Beers' most ambitious offer ever, and response has been incredible. The corporate-owned big box stores can't touch these prices. Beers locally owned, man. Say hi to the Lupos when you go over there. The freedom to give you pricing you deserve, highest quality diamond jewelry. Celebrate the mothers in your life with something they'll appreciate for decades to come. They also have special pricing on other Mother's Day favorites, including colored gemstones, pearls, pendants, and fashion jewelry. Beards Diamonds, your destination for making this Mother's Day truly special. Don't miss Beards Diamond's biggest sale ever. Up to 40% off Beards' already beatable value price. Now through Mother's Day at the Town Center. Only locally owned jeweler. It's Beards Diamonds.
Big Chief Tire Monday on helmets and heels.
You waited forever for your new fence. Then, strangers show up. Subcontractors rushing the job. Sent by the company you trusted. Frustrating, right? Superior Fence and Rail promises better. They're professionally trained builders. Deliver quality you can trust. No subcontractors, no shortcuts. Just the superior craftsmanship your home deserves.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, superiorfenceandrail.com.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power Charge that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/55 to learn more. With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 new lines with autopay for well-qualified customers plus taxes, fees, and $35 per line connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Hey gang, Prosser here, and it's always great when you can replace a problem with a promise. And let me get right down to it. When it comes to Chad and Sandy and selling your home, here's a promise that you can count on. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Now, more. Spring selling season is here. Rates are down. Activity's up. Now's the best time in years to sell your home. Some homes are sitting on the market, though, and hiring an expert who can maximize your equity and minimize hassle is the key. Those expert agents, and I'm recommending them to sell your home, Chad and Sandy Newman. There have been lots of you out there on the First Coast who are taking advantage. Take David and Heather in Fox Ridge. This is out in Orange Park. We wanted to move to Keystone Heights to get closer to family, away from the city. We heard Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. What you hear is true. We got multiple offers and sold in 3 days for $15,000 above asking price. Call the local experts I trust and recommend to sell my home and yours. Call Chad and Sandy, 414-6200. ChadAndDSandy.com.
I'm Max Fink with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update, brought to you by Clay Solar Installation Partners. The Gators baseball team sent South Carolina back up to Columbia winless on the weekend after another series sweep to keep their momentum rolling as the postseason continues to inch closer. The Gators took Game 1 9-5 before the dominance set in during Game 2 as the Gators obliterated the Gamecocks 22-3 before completing the sweep with an 8-0 shutout in Game 3. The Gators have now won 13 of their last 15 games and their last 4 SEC series as they're hitting stride perfectly as the regular season winds down. Florida State also had a successful weekend on the diamond, winning their series with the number 3 Clemson Tigers. With a 6-5 win on Friday and a 20-9 win Sunday, the Noles jumped to number 2 in the baseball rankings. It's 84 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and Temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Neo Equos is the leader at the top of the stretch. Journalism is on the move as they turn for home, and Sovereignty is coming with him on the outside. The two of them go right by with a furlong to run. Journalism and Sovereignty, nose to nose, down to the last 16th of a mile. Sovereignty has taken the lead. Journalism is second toward the inside. Mayo is third, but it will be Sovereignty to rule the Kentucky Derby. Journalism and Mayo were next. Final Gambit was fourth. The final time was 2:02.31 seconds.
That's how it sounded on Saturday. And I will say, ladies, that when you're watching with someone who has more than just like $5 down on the Derby. It ratchets up the Derby watching. And the course that our friend had, Citizen Bowl, was doing well at the beginning, but then faded a little bit down the stretch. But yeah, as you just heard it, Sovereignty came in first. And Mia, I couldn't help but think about you when that race ended, because I think your parting words on the Derby subject, as far as us picking each a horse, was, I might have to learn more about Sovereignty.
It was. And my official pick here on Helmets and Heels was Baeza, who finished third. And that's why, to your point, I was not too worried when Citizen Bowl was out in front on that opening quarter length of the track, because I saw Baeza and Journalism biding their time in the middle of the pack. And I'm like, okay, if Journalism's hanging out there, Baeza ran against him in the Santa Anita, whatever it is, out in California races, came in second by a couple strides. I was like, okay, they've got a plan. I'm just going to believe that he will be there in the end. But yes, Sovereignty would have been my third horse, so happy to see that. And then I threw Owen Almighty out there, if you guys remember, on Friday. 80-1, or ended up being about 50-1 long odds. Ended up finishing in fifth. So
I see 30-1 as far as final odds.
Kevin did look at me and was like, since when did you become this horse racing savant and expert? And I was like, since 12:03 on Friday. When
I tried to pick Journalism for you, you would have had the top three horses.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't want to. Journalism is dead. I'm just kidding. It doesn't pay, though, as everyone knows.
Yeah, Taylor and I's horses did not fare nearly as well. I had Luxor Cafe, and you had American Promise.
I did.
Yeah,
there were American Promise she was doing. I don't know if it's a boy or girl. They were doing good.
Aren't they all boys?
I don't know.
They're all colts. I don't know what that means.
Okay, so a boy. I don't know. She was doing really well for a minute. I looked up. I'm like, oh dang, she's in third. He's in third. And then next thing you know, she started getting a little tired, and I was like, oh no.
That probably reminds you of you if you had to run a race, right? Very similar to that. Look, it's to me, it's such a fun event, because especially if you're having a party or you're at a party. We were at our friend's daughter's birthday party. You only have to take your attention away from what you're doing for about 5 minutes or so in total. Watch a little bit of the pre-race festivities, and then watch the actual race, and then watch the post-race interview, which I love that they do that on the horse, right? And the interviewer and obviously the jockey still on the horse. And then you're done. And so you can go back to whatever activities you were doing. Whereas obviously if you go to a friend's house and it's a football game or a baseball game, you're locked in for hours.
4 hours of your...
Right, which I obviously don't mind that. I love that. But it is nice to just focus for just a brief period of time. And even though it was certainly a muddy affair, I thought
very muddy.
Yeah, the ratings showed it. 20 million people watched. I thought it was a really well done event.
And didn't officially start at 6:57.
No, that was a little late.
I know at least in my household there was some. Okay, come on, we got other sporting events we got to watch.
Yeah, the only time of year that I say post time is 6:57.
Yeah,
everyone gather around the television,
right?
And then you let us down.
Yeah, I had a Cubs game at 7:10, so we were like, all right, guys,
we gotta move it along. Come on, horses. I know it's raining up there in Louisville. Come on now.
So how did we miss the fact that every horse in the Derby is a relative of Secretary?
Yeah,
so I saw that on Friday, but I wasn't sure. I saw that pop up somewhere, but it wasn't everywhere. So I was like, I don't know if this is real, and I'm not going to say this on air if it's not real. And so I skipped it. And then today I saw the article again, and it was a more legitimate, because the one I saw on Friday was the ML was one of those dumb things that I don't really believe. And I was like, I'm not going to throw that out into the universe if it's not true. But it is, which is wild.
Yeah, very wild. All right, right now we have a pair of voucher tickets to go see the Jumbo Shrimp that can be used for any game this season. The Jumbo Shrimp are home starting tomorrow night. That runs through Sunday, going up against the Syracuse Mets. Is that a team that you root for, the Syracuse Mets?
I mean, yeah.
Dan Hicken does.
Yeah. I mean,
he was talking about it this morning.
Not to the extent that, I am a Yankees fan, but not, Syracuse is that other school in the central New York region that does communications. So, not a ton. I can tell you this, the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, once upon a time also an affiliate of the Mets that Tim Tebow played for during his stint with the organization. That's a team that I have no ties to, but I rooted for because I love the Rumble Ponies.
Oh,
I love a minor league team with an elite name like that.
By the way, they're already calling. I didn't even say what caller number or the phone number. Obviously, they know the phone number, 641-1010. We'll do caller number 3, 641-1010. You're already on the line, actually, caller number 3, and you get to go see the Jumbo Shrimp. And like I said, anytime this season. All right, Taylor, you've got some predictions for us.
I do, yes. So I was earlier just kind of going through some of the things, and I get articles sent to me, and this one popped out because it was talking about some of the maybe unsuspected things that 2 years ago, if we were sitting there having conversations about these things, would you believe them? Would you have believed that these were some of the headlines for the NFL coming into the 2025 season? And so that got me thinking about how, number one, there's a lot of cool storylines when it comes to this year in general, but it had me thinking I wanted to ask you guys of these, because they are, some of them, they're all a little far-fetched, you'd say, but you could probably make an argument for each of them. But I wanted to see, in your opinion, which one you think is the most likely of these ones. So they put 5 things. This is on CBS Sports, but they had 5 things that could happen during the 2025 NFL season that would have seemed unbelievable a year or two ago. So the number one thing they have is Aaron Rodgers throwing to DK Metcalf to the Steelers. So they go through and they say Rodgers is still without a team, publicly undecided on his NFL future after wrapping up an admittedly ugly 2-year stint with the Jets. All signs point to the former MVP landing in Pittsburgh if he does suit up. However, we don't know what Aaron Rodgers is ever thinking, so nobody knows if that's going to happen. But also, I think the added level of DK Metcalf also there, too, because DK's been in Seattle his whole entire career, and now he is somewhere else.
Did you see that Aaron Rodgers was pictured with what looks like maybe a wedding ring?
No.
Well, he did tell us.
Did he marry himself?
He did tell us on the Pat McAfee show that he is in a serious relationship.
Right. Yeah. People saw that he had some sort of a ring on. It looks like one of those rubber wedding bands on that finger, the left finger. So on the left ring finger. So yeah. Anyway, just as an aside,
that's juicy. I did not see that. Number 2 on this one is Jameis Winston replaces Russell Wilson on the Giants. So is it surprising that Winston is wearing new colors as a journeyman backup? No, but the fact that he's set to back up Wilson, who's now become a journeyman of his own, is certainly notable, given that they're both in New York, where the Giants were still hoping to squeeze something out of Daniel Jones in 2024. And didn't even mention that Jackson Dart's the Giants' latest first-round swing under center. So how could that end up shaking out? So that's another one. Or the next one, this one's kind of wild to me, but whatever. Brian Schottenheimer leads the Cowboys on a rebound. And so they go through and talk about after a 12-5 finish, they've had a rough time. You know, Dak Prescott gets hurt, but he looks like he's going to be healthy. It looks like Jerry Jones actually invested in this offseason a little bit more than he did this last season. The fourth one, Daniel Jones beats out Anthony Richardson in Indy. So in 2024, the electric but banged up Richardson was just entering his second season as the Colts' former number 4 overall draft pick. All of a sudden, he might not even be guaranteed a job in Stan Steichen's as the quarterback for them. Then number 5 is the Washington Commanders cruise to the Super Bowl. Sounds totally plausible now, but if you would have asked yourself in 2024, when Jaden Daniels was a dual threat projection rather than a bona fide NFL starter, and head coach Dan Quinn seemed like a tired retread rather than a beloved leader. So that's where I ask you guys, what do you think is most likely this season? Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback for the Steelers. Jameis Winston ends up starting over Russell Wilson at some point this season. Let's say not injury related, just actually getting not injury, because they don't mention injury. They just say beats out Russell Wilson at some point.
Jackson Dart, who the Giants
but they say they don't expect Dart to start there, is what I'm hearing. Brian Schottenheimer actually gets the Cowboys back and they're winning. Daniel Jones beats out Anthony Richardson in Indy, or the Commanders go to the Super Bowl.
And the AR one is not injury related as well.
Yeah, it doesn't say, but it does mention his injuries in that one.
Yeah, for me, it's a clear, easy one. To me, it's the Commanders in the Super Bowl just because of the fact that they were a Final Four team this past year and they're only ascending.
I disagree. I think the shoddy idea is a reality, because I think the Commanders could take a step back. They'll have to face a second place schedule because they obviously didn't win the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champions, did. But I ultimately think that there's still some question marks on that roster that they tried to cover up with Band-Aid 1 to 2 year free agent fixes. They're still developing. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they took a step back. And the Cowboys, in contrast, look, they do have a pretty deep offensive line. And look, Dak Prescott 2 years ago finished second in the MVP voting. We forget. And then you couple that with, well, yes, they don't have a wide receiver outside of CeeDee Lamb that you can really speak about. I do think that their investments along the offensive line are going to pay dividends, and especially on the defensive end with their first 3 picks in the draft expected to be contributors day one. I do think that there's a world in which the Cowboys, especially playing in that division, well, yes, the Commanders and Eagles you must compete with. They'll probably beat up on the Giants a time or two. I do think the Cowboys could get right back into the mix.
I'm always going to take the Commanders because I had them as a playoff team last year with Jaden Daniels as a rookie. Taylor, what did it say you?
Yeah,
I know you're not going to pick number 1.
Yeah, I don't know I never know what he's thinking. So, and I really don't care anymore. But I do think that
right there with
when
you.
it
I don't
comes,
care about him either.
I really don't. And I think that when it comes to both of those, the Commanders one's interesting because they also even upped certain areas of that roster that some of the concerns, obviously defensively, they weren't really good last year. And so their offense really did have to make up for a lot of things. I'm interested to see that second year when people have film on Jaden and like things they're going to have to ask him to do more now. They weren't asking him to do a ton last year when it comes to pre-snap stuff. How much does that kind of catch up? Because we saw it do it to CJ Stroud, and so we'll see. Granted, some of that was the line. So I am fascinated to see if Washington stays with what they were able to do this last year. In that division, we'll see, because when you talk about it, it's like you have Philly. That's a hard thing to match up against. And then Dallas, if we are expecting Dallas to bounce back. Giants, whoever knows what they're doing too. The Schottenheimer thing, I think, was so underwhelming this offseason. I know when everybody else was like getting all these big name coaches and everyone's excited, and then Dallas just settles there, everyone was like, what? Like, it feels like a downgrade from Mike McCarthy for a lot of people. So I don't know. So to me,
we all said you could have had Belichick.
Yeah.
It's whoever's going to listen to Jerry wants.
And that makes it hard. That's why it was that here with Trent Baalke, and then they had to get rid of Trent Baalke, but you can't get rid of Jerry Jones. So you're kind of in a rut there. So I'm going to go different. I'm going to say that Daniel Jones beats out Anthony Richardson. I think that, and there's multiple things. I think there's flashes of Anthony Richardson, and there's moments where I'm like, there's something there. I just don't know if he's ever going to be able to reel it all in, number one. Also, injuries has been a thing time after time. And then this last year, too, when we saw him tap himself out of a game when being tired, that to me is going to hold over his head for a while. And if he's not playing really well, they're going to say, okay, well, we have this guy, a Daniel Jones, who has had ups and downs, but he's had seasons where with the right things happening around him, there's been moments of success. And so I could see a world where that happens this year.
If we were in Indianapolis, I guarantee a conversation that they've had at multiple times, probably to this point. How long or short is the leash for Anthony Richardson?
Yeah.
Does he start? I mean, is he going to win out in that quarterback competition? I would expect him to, because I think even though he doesn't have nearly as much experience as Daniel Jones, he does have electrifying plays.
Moments, yeah.
But Daniel Jones, I do think is going to push him every step of the way. And so, yeah, I wonder about the leash.
And we've seen so many the last few years, the guys go somewhere else and it be this like fresh new start. A Sam Darnold, who everyone counted out. A Geno Smith, who everybody counted out. And so I could see a world, because there were moments early. Baker. And
Shane Steichen's a good play caller.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they have weapons. Like, I saw a meme over the weekend, and it was like Sleeper NFL posted it, and they said, who's going to stop this Colts offense? And Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Josh Johns, and Tyler Warren. And someone quote tweeted and said, probably Anthony Richardson, if we're being honest.
But that's where my question to that is, because I do think it's absolutely a possibility. My question is, who needs AR to have a shorter leash? Is it Jim Irsay? Because for the sake of the franchise, does he intervene? Which, he's been known to do that a time or two.
Yeah.
Look at Jeff Saturday. Is it Shane Steichen? Because Shane Steichen's just so over it, just like he was last year when he benched AR. Mm-hmm. Or is it Chris Ballard? Again, 9 seasons as the general manager. Yeah. And Trent Baalke and Dave Caldwell each have more division titles to show for it.
Yeah, I think it's Ballard because he picked Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
And so some would argue that means AR will have a longer leash because you want to be right for the GM.
And that's the
but
argument.
If you brought in a new guy in Daniel Jones, and then you say, well, you know what, as long
and
as
they drafted Riley Leonard.
Sure. At the end
who's
of the day,
combination, the love child of AR and Daniel Jones.
At the end of the day, you just need a quarterback to play well. Obviously, down here, we're not rooting for that. We shall see. The Terminex Pest of the Day is on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
It's not set to the frequency. It's right here. Hello. No. Wrong frequency. What's the frequency, by the way?
1010XL.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
What does your dream backyard look like? Hey, it's Joe C. and my friends at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living can design an outdoor kitchen layout custom built to your taste and lifestyle. You dream it, they can build it. CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. Visit cssoutdoor.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, it's Dan Hicken with a game changer. I've tested the field, and Checkmate Coating is my new go-to for durable, jaw-dropping floor coatings. Better play, better results.
I'm Brendan from Checkmate Coatings. Our precision coatings make your floors the MVP of any space.
Slam dunk your floors at checkmatecoatings.com. Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
It's a Helmets and Heels Big Chief Tire Monday.
Your home is more than walls and a roof. It's where you breathe, drink, and power through life. At Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to keep it all running smoothly. From clean, cool air to clean water, reliable power to expert plumbing, we do it all. For over 35 years, families have trusted Donovan to make their homes healthier, safer, and more comfortable. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing today, 904-270-COOL, where health meets home.
Keep your ride summer road trip ready with parts, tools, and accessories from Summit Racing. We have what you need for pre-trip maintenance, plus essentials like emergency roadside kits, tire inflators, jumper cables, boost jump starters, tool sets, and a whole lot more. So hit the highways or take the roads less traveled with confidence. Shop summitracing.com. Use promo code RADIO for $10 off an order of $100 or more. Exclusions apply. Offer ends May 25th, 2025. SummitRacing.com. Let's build it together.
Lucas Tree Service is a certified arborist and a local family-owned business with over 45 years of experience. They specialize in tree removal, trimming, and stump grinding for both residential and commercial properties. Get prepared for storm season and receive top-notch customer service from Lucas Tree Service, 904-241-3533. Online at lucastreeservice.com.
Lauren Brooks here for Novus Glass of Jacksonville. We've all had to deal with a cracked windshield. So next time, go to a local company to get your windshield repaired for free at Novus Glass. And now Novus Glass is the only place in Jacksonville where you can get Turbo Tint. Turbo Tint will improve your energy efficiency and increase privacy, as well as enhance your car or building. Turbo Tint blocks up to 99% of harmful UV rays, so all of us Floridians need Turbo Tint on our cars, and Novus Glass is the only place you can get it. Book today at orangepark.turbotint.com. That's orangepark.turbotint.com.
Are you struggling with hair loss? At IHRS, we understand because we've been there too. We're dedicated to finding the best solution tailored just for you.
My hair looks great. It was thinning, and IHRS restored my hair. It's now fuller, it's thicker, voluminous. It's made me feel great.
With the latest technology and FDA-approved laser therapy, PRP, and non-surgical hair addition, we offer guaranteed solutions for men and women. With over 35 years of experience, IHRS found a hair restoration for us, and we can find one for you.
For me.
For me.
And me too.
Visit hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS. Get a free microscopic analysis and get to the root of your problem. This $395 analysis is yours for free. Call 904-777-4477 now.
Get the best soccer talk on the First Coast on the Coaches Show, presented by Sporting Jacks. Cole Pepper, Sporting Jacks head of soccer Mark Warburg, and Sporting Jacks women's coach Stacey Baylor discuss the beautiful game Tuesday evenings at 6 on 1010 a.m.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, it's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Ackerman Cancer Center is celebrating a major milestone this month, treating their 3,000th patient with cutting-edge proton therapy. For excellence in cancer screening, diagnosis, and treatment, trust Ackerman Cancer Center. Learn more at ackermancancercenter.com.
Are your monthly bills keeping you up at night, worried about your finances in these crazy times? Hey, it's Prosser here. And if you're like most people, you've racked up a sizable amount on your credit cards, and the monthly payment is not making a dent in it. It's time to call Loan Pronto. If you own a home, you have a super easy way to get tens or even hundreds of thousands in cash. Loan Pronto has lots of options for helping you tap into the equity in your home and get the cash you need to get back on solid footing. Most homeowners who do this end up wiping out all their credit card debt and cutting their monthly expenses by $1,000. Look, you didn't mean to end up here, but you don't have to keep stressing out about money. Call Loan Pronto for fast debt relief now. 904-999-1508. That's the number to Loan Pronto. Or you can also go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Brian, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Is this one of your go-tos?
Not a go-to. It actually popped up on my playlist yesterday when I was on my bike ride, and I was like, oh, okay. Nice little, mainstream Springsteen, if you may. So, yeah.
We love to go for bike rides in the spring. Like the summer, we still do it in the summer. It takes a lot more out of you.
Yeah.
But bike rides in the spring, and y'all know this, I'm a huge fan of Confederate jasmine. The scent of jasmine is like my favorite thing. So going for a bike ride all at the beach and you can just smell that fragrant jasmine blooming, it is unbelievable.
Yeah, I know you love your jasmine. There's a lot of jasmine posts that
more than most people. That is 100%
It is.
true.
It's pretty, and it's simple but pretty, and I do like that, and I do love the smell of it also. I don't ride my bike often down the beach to smell the jasmine, but I'm sure it's wonderful.
Well, we do more than, we look at the beach or go to lunch or what have you, but this time of year with those temps the way that they've been, and we haven't had a lot of rain, but the rain is coming, I regret to inform you. But yeah, it's been so beautiful with a little bit of a breeze and everything. And yes, there's more to do than just smell the jasmine, but that is 100% one of my favorite
We're getting
things.
exercise.
It's a good life motto. Just stop and smell the jasmine.
Exactly. Except you'd be stopping about every 10 feet, certainly in Neptune and Atlantic Beach. All right, time now for today's Terminex Pest of the Day. You can find our friends at Terminex online at Terminex.com, Terminix. I've been telling you for a while now, they take care of the pest control, termites, and mosquitoes at our house. They also do it for places like ViStar Ballpark, ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, Everbank Stadium, all of your favorite event venues around town. Today's Pest of the Day, Michigan football, and specifically Sharon Moore. He has been suspended already back in 2023. He was suspended for a game against East Carolina for a totally different incident than what happened with Connor Stallions and that
I heard he may be the next president at the University of Michigan, by the way.
Oh, yeah. The Michigan president might become the Florida president is what it looks like, which I saw a lot
Which
of
means
Michigan...
Connor Stallions will be the new president at Michigan.
Maybe. But yeah, Connor Stallions, as most people remember if they follow college football, he sent friends and family to scout future Michigan opponents and would have them videotape the signals that were being sent in to the quarterback. So that way they could use it for Michigan football players to then steal the signals, basically, or know in advance what signals and what plays were going to be called. And so once again, Sharon Moore has been suspended now for 2 games. And the reason he's been suspended, obviously it was Connor that started all this, but Sharon tried to cover up the incident and deleted a thread of 52 text messages that were then obviously able to be uncovered. And so, yeah, he's in trouble. So he will be suspended, like I said, for 2 games. It's weeks 3 and 4 against Central Michigan and Nebraska. I don't know why Michigan chose weeks 3 and 4, but because it's a
self-imposed,
school
gets to choose what games
because it's self-imposed as a sanction. That's why they decided that, and I'm assuming they didn't want to pick weeks 1 and 2 because week 2 is Oklahoma, and that's where Sharon Moore played. Yeah, so I'm guessing they wanted to have him available for that. But it just it feels odd that Michigan would pick those, and I guess you just don't want to start the season without your coach.
Yeah,
but.
Although
it's
teams
also
have had
weird
to do
that
it.
they let you pick. Like you would think the NCAA would just be like, no, like we are going to choose the games.
Well, I guess when you get to self-impose them, the NCAA can't at that point in time tell you what you have to do. It's if the NCAA was then going to suspend him, then the NCAA could pick which games. But I don't like when we have a national champion and there's those types of storylines, as far as cheating and the scandal and stuff like that.
Yeah, and this was obviously the hot topic for a while, and then everyone started coming out, and it was like, well, everyone cheats. So it's like when the Astros did it, then everyone's like, okay, well, everyone does it. But you got caught. Like, you're not even good at doing it, so now you get punished.
Exactly.
And mocked forever.
And mocked. That's right. That's what we're doing today on today's Pest of the Day. I did see that the NFL draft was announced. It will be in Washington, D.C.
I did see that.
in 2 years. Next year in Pittsburgh. So Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C. I feel like Green Bay and Pittsburgh feel like NFL cities, even though I was just talking up the Commanders. I don't feel like Washington, D.C. has the same type of vibe.
So a couple things on this. Number one, as soon as Kevin said it to me when we woke up and was like, oh, yeah, like the report's out there. Of course, you know, he's got Maryland ties, and so therefore he's been very excited about the revitalized RFK Stadium that the Washington Commanders are planning on building while they still play at the crumbling, decrepit FedEx Field.
Yeah.
And then once this new stadium is created, then they will move back into RFK. So the two notes on this. Number one, I immediately said, the new stadium's going to be ready by then? And then he said, no, it's going to be on the mall. Number two, if you've never been to Washington, D.C., it is one of the cleanest cities. You do not see debris. You don't see nearly as many rats scurrying around. The public transportation is as cleanly as any I've been on, and I've lived in Europe. I've lived in the United States from coast to coast. And so, therefore, I love this move. They are constantly looking for large outdoor spaces, rain or shine, that they can host the NFL draft, and that which is easily accessible to public transportation and bringing as many people in as possible. And that is what you have by putting it in Washington, D.C.
And D.C. is walkable for people who haven't been there either. But
I did see it was like the first time in 86 years. That's kind of crazy. I didn't realize it had been that long.
Well, I was listening to Peter King was on the Sports Media podcast.
To host an event in Washington.
He was on the Sports Media podcast with Richard Deitch over the weekend, and Peter King was like, look, I mean, up until 2014, people forget the draft was always in New York City. And the idea of it being this traveling circus, right? This idea
because of Nashville. I think that's the reason it became a traveling circus.
Correct.
Nashville
And he pointed to that
look
as well.
at what we can do for your event, and look at all the Bachelorette videos that come out of it. Those Bachelorettes that were furious that the draft was going on when they were in Nashville.
That was hilarious.
It was.
And he said, like, that is the watershed moment of certainly Roger Goodell recognizing that Radio City Music Hall was undergoing reconstruction, and so therefore you couldn't have the draft there. And you had a moment of, okay, well, we can find another venue, we can have it at MSG, or we take the show on the road. And here we are a little over a decade later. And if it's not the biggest event and has over 600,000 people there, it's deemed not a success.
Yeah, I think that I like it moving. I think it adds something because obviously for certain people, and it gives other people opportunities to be able to do it a little easier. And that was the problem. If you live on the West Coast, it's a little difficult to get to New York when it was in New York every year. And obviously Washington, it's still that side, but it's going to be everywhere. So it gives so many different people opportunities to be able to attend the event that would not have been as accessible for that. I do think it just gives different vibes. Like each year now, it's going to be a little bit different. Like we just saw with Green Bay and all the little Goodell riding his bike up on the stage and all the little things that they add to add the historical side of that certain franchise. And I think that's fun because not everybody knows all of the little tidbits of each organization. So you learn while you're watching it, and then the rivalries get to come out a little bit more. And it's not always just New York gets everything.
I had two women tell me over the weekend that they were obsessed with the draft and they had never paid attention to it before. One was because of TikTok. And all the different videos,
sad stories.
And all those stories. And the other was just like, she was like, I can't explain it. I just watched every second of it. And I was like, well, welcome to our world. And now I just need you to get on board watching everything else, that we watch as well.
It's the storylines. I said this, I believe, on an earlier show that my aunt looks forward now to every draft because the 2020 virtual NFL draft, speaking of breaking ground, because that opened up their eyes because they had nothing else to watch, to the anecdotal side of the draft and learning these backstories and seeing these young men and their families sobbing. Now they watch every draft, and my aunt and uncle, they will watch literally as long as there is a draft, they will watch it.
I love it. Speaking of the NFL, the Ravens, Cowboys, Packers, Chiefs, Eagles, and Seahawks have already conducted rookie mini camps. That was this past weekend. The Ravens have a guy, a fifth-round pick, the only HBCU player to be selected in the draft. He went to Alabama A&M. His name is Carson Vinson. He is 6'7", 321 pounds, and they said he was already impressive. So I'm excited for him just to be able to, wave that HBCU flag.
Yeah, he looked good at the Senior Bowl, too.
Yeah.
He was considered a day 3 sleeper.
Some of these guys that we were talking about off air last week about how the Tampa Bay has the biggest weight difference between two of their players because Big Dez, and then Tez. Tez is like I think it said like 140 something, and Big Dez, but they did say Big Dez dropped like 24 pounds.
Wow.
But he's still like 465. I'm like, oh my God.
Big Dez is a big guy. Desmond Watson, who used to play obviously defensive tackle at Florida and one snap of running back or a couple. Getting undrafted or going undrafted and being picked up by the Bucks. I'm excited for him to at least be able to stay in the state of Florida. One other note: the Seahawks said that Jalen Milroe, I'm going to get it eventually. He has been working with quarterback guru Jordan Palmer. That's why I'm getting it. I didn't realize that part. Did you know he is only the third quarterback drafted by the Seahawks since 2010? Jalen Milroe.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Congrats.
I mean, the Green Bay Packers are probably right there with them. I mean, I know they take some flyers on, in the 6th and 7th round, and historically speaking, that's a franchise dating back to the 90s that prided itself on consistently having 3 to 4 capable starting quarterbacks. But same vibes of same.
Find them and be like, we're
3
good.
guys in 40 some odd years. It must be nice.
We'll file this one away. They said that his intangible strengths were on full display on Friday as he was frequently seen encouraging and celebrating the success of his new teammates. Could he become eventually a backup quarterback for the Jaguars since he's intangibly rich?
Yeah. I think he's eventually, if they play their cards right, he's eventually going to be a starting quarterback. And he's a great example because he's only 21, where should he have come out? I don't know if he had waited a year, if the Kalen DeBoer project works, maybe he sneaks into the first round next year. Maybe he develops as more of a passing quarterback. But at the same time, he is an example of if they put the right infrastructure behind him around him behind the scenes in Seattle over the next 2 years while Sam Darnold is the starter, this then becomes the model for the NBA, if you may, NFL prospect experiment, where in the NBA, we consistently see prospects who probably shouldn't be leaving college, go to the NBA, say, whatever, I'm going to play in the G League for 2 years, or I'm just going to be a draft and stash, and I'm just going to sit on the end of the bench and develop my game because I'm 18, 19 years old, and I'm going to develop further at that level than I would if I stayed in college.
Speaking of that, Alex Condon, Walter Clayton Jr., and Elijah Martin all invited to the NBA Combine, since you mentioned NBA. We've got more to do. One segment to go here on Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Take that game with you.
What a turn of events!
Radio play-by-play is where you are. 1010XL.
Call 904-500-COOL. Ideal Conditions.
Want to support a locally and veteran-owned company? If you need a new AC, we should be your first and only call. Ideal Conditions keeps you cool. Just ask your AC. Call 904-500-COOL or visit idealconditionsjacks.com.
Call 904-500-COOL.
Honk if you see us. Call for service.
Ideal Conditions.
Idealconditionsjacks.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Are you ready to reclaim your backyard? Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, Surfside Pools is the trusted name for expert pool design. Family owned and operated, they offer pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools transform your backyard into the oasis that you crave. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, where luxury meets leisure.
License number CPC 044080.
Helmets and Heels.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. The local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
Hey, this is Coach Jason Gibson of your Jacksonville Sharks. I know the importance of a strong game plan, and that's exactly what I've got with Clay Solar Installation Partners. They did the install of the solar panels at my house, and I couldn't be happier. Lower energy bills, clean power, and a winning team that made the whole process easy. If you're looking to save money and go solar, trust the pros at Clay Solar. Call Karen at Clay Solar today and tell them that Coach Gibson sent you.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up?
Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes here with a challenge. A challenge might not be the best choice in words, so let's say an opportunity. Take the opportunity to lose 40 by the 4th with Awaken 180. It sounds a little different when you put a real goal to it, doesn't it? Maybe you looked at the scale this morning and it read 230 pounds. How about it reading 190 by the 4th? Maybe the scale says 300. Wouldn't the number 260 be a little nicer on your eyes and on your joints? It's attainable if you have the same results we all had with Awaken 180. I dropped 40 pounds in 9 weeks. Hacker dropped his first 40 in just 6 weeks. Dempsey, Blue, and everyone else I know, same results. And we've kept it off. The best thing about Awaken 180 weight loss, it will completely change the way you think, see, and feel about food. The results are real, attainable, and the process simple with Awaken 180. Take the opportunity and drop 40 by the 4th. It all starts with just one call to Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Call 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
He used to cover the Jags. Now he's a CBS Sports senior NFL writer.
Well, I believe he's got everybody's attention.
He's Pete Prisco. Friday afternoons on The Frangie Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it work. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Calling all poker enthusiasts. The Poker Atlas Tour is bringing 7 action-packed poker events to Best Bet St. Augustine, June 5th to June 15th, including Event 1, a $300 no-limit hold'em tournament featuring a $100,000 guarantee, and the $600 no-limit hold'em title event with a $200,000 guarantee. Satellites are happening now at Best Bet St. Augustine. For tournament structures and all the details, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Couple more news and notes before we get on out of here on a Big Chief Tire Monday. First and foremost, would like to congratulate friend of the program, Smila Colby, the all-star track standout over at UNF. Check this one out, folks. So she runs the 800 at the East Coast Relays here in Jacksonville at Hodges Stadium in 1:59:02. That's 1 minute, 59 seconds, 2 milliseconds. That's number one in UNF program history all time. That's number one in the city of Jacksonville's history all time. Number one in the D1 in Division I nationally this year. Number 3 in D1 history. And number 7 in the world right here
Jeez.
in Jacksonville, FLA.
Let's have her race BTJ and
True. Honestly, that might be a funny little segment if we can make that one happen.
I love that.
And Smilla's also great, by the way. When I hosted the Aussies a few weeks ago, she also is got a 4.0 GPA. So she literally won almost every award that she could possibly be nominated.
Kept saying her name.
And I said to her after she won the first one, and she gave such a wonderful speech about what UNF meant to her and how she's a byproduct of the positives of the transfer portal and finding her home. And then I was like, I think we're gonna be back up here again. She goes, no, it's okay. And then she got called up 4 more times. So
she might as well just stood up there.
That's why I said, I was like, I don't know if you want to make your speech now or if you want to wait. So, but yeah, a tremendous student athlete, and those stats really put it into perspective.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Pig, the track and field coach at UNF. Speaking of UNF, the softball team was able to earn the top seed, so they get a triple bye in the ASUN softball championship. And JU is 8th, ranked 8th, and seeded 8th, and then North Alabama seeded 9th. So that game starts, I want to say, this Sunday, and it's at 12:30 Central Time. I'll confirm as far as what day that is. But either way, then UNF will await lots of different winners because, like I said, they have a triple bye. And then the SEC softball tournament starts tomorrow. Georgia is a 12 seed taking on Kentucky, a 13 seed. That one's at 1 p.m. in Athens. And then the whole tournament's obviously in Athens. And then Florida waits until Wednesday and gets the winner of game 2 at 5 o'clock. So good stuff as far as softball is concerned. I saw Florida softball over the weekend. Beat number 1 Oklahoma 2 out of 3. That's really impressive.
Game. Yeah, great game. And it was nationally televised over on ESPN, which was great to see. And, one of the more, I feel like I don't want to say we forget about Florida softball, but consistently, this is a program that is always in the mix in the top 10 in the country. And so it was good that when I was flipping through the channels, when we got back from running some errands, I was like, oh, Florida softball's on ESPN? Sign me up.
Yeah, my dad does not ever forget about Florida softball. He is always watching the
Spring Sports School, as Joe Cowart once so well eloquently said.
Yeah, the ASUN tournament for softball begins tomorrow. The championship is on Sunday. So you will find JU taking on North Alabama in Oxford, Alabama tomorrow, 12:30 Central Time, so 1:30 Eastern Time. Speaking of Florida sports, the baseball team has come out of nowhere, basically. We talked about how far below 500 they were, and now they're 11-13 in the SEC. Here are the updated Baseball America rankings after this past weekend. Georgia 1, Texas 2, Arkansas 3, so the top 3 teams in the SEC. Florida will face Texas this weekend. 4 is North Carolina, 5 is Auburn, 6 is LSU, 7 is Florida State, 8 is Coastal Carolina, very impressive for the Chanticleers, 9 West Virginia, 10 Oregon. So maybe we need to sneak a baseball question to Wyatt Milam in case he's still paying attention. FSU won 2 out of 3 at home against Clemson. Clemson's now ranked 12th, so just out of the top 10. FSU plays host to JU tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, so that'll be fun. JU did lose 2 out of 3 at Queens. I had told you they had been on a 9-game win streak, but they did end up losing 2 out of 3. UNF was swept by Florida Gulf Coast. UNF plays host to USF Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then Florida will play USF tomorrow night in Gainesville, 6:30 p.m. So we're really wrapping up the college baseball season. It feels like it just started.
Yeah, I feel like baseball season in general, and I know regular MLB is very long. The season's very long, but it still already feels like you're over a month in when the Cubs actually played 2 months ago because of the Japan game. Maybe that's why it feels long. It feels like we're deeper into it, but I feel like baseball season always flies by. Yeah, so I guess I love baseball, so that's
absolutely. The Cubs are playing really well, I almost wore a Rays tank top just for you, Mia, today because the Rays did sweep the Yankees.
Yeah, it's all right. Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball, and it's a long season.
Did you watch Chandler Simpson?
The Rays player?
The Rays guys who's fast.
I was locked in on our Lord and Savior, Caitlin Clark, yesterday, Lauren.
Chandler
who
Simpson.
It took an hour and 44 minutes to get to, but who's counting?
Well, you could mention him whenever you want. The Rays, Chandler Simpson, we've talked about several times, literally lightning fast. Yeah. And so he's a player that if you're looking for young players to kind of watch out for, the Cubs have some of those too.
Pico Armstrong's like that for sure.
And you lost Shota though.
Yeah. We haven't heard officially what it is. It was weird though because his last start he was like holding his hamstring a little bit and they were like, oh, he's fine. It was just cramping a little bit. But then yesterday running to first trying to make a play, it was like the same thing kind of happened. So definitely something's lingering. He's never dealt with anything anything like that. So they, like Craig Counsell was like, they just don't really know what's happening. He doesn't know how to explain the feeling because he's never had that. So they have to do a bunch of testing to try and figure it out. But probably going to lose him for a little bit of time at least. And then we already lost Justin Steele. So it'll be interesting. But hopefully they're going to call this Cade Horton kid up, who's been pitching really well for their AAA. And I think he has like a 1.24 ERA right now. Like, he's pitching very well. So they have him on the same schedule as Shota. So it's going to line up perfectly where if he does come up, he just takes over Shota's spot.
That is nice. That's always smart when your baseball team does something like that. Yeah, Caitlin Clark was playing in Iowa, so that had to have been a crazy scene.
It was.
I love our meeting, by the way. This morning, someone was like, did they win? Someone goes, by like 70.
The Fever.
They were playing the Brazilian national team, which the top two players on the Brazilian national team, one is Camila Cardoso, who plays for the Chicago Sky, who defeated Brazil in another exhibition game at LSU over the weekend. And then the other plays for the Fever. And so DeMontis couldn't play for both teams. And so therefore they were without their top two players. And yeah, it was 108-44. So, you know, for those who turned this one on and they were like, well, it's not competitive. Listen, the reality of this offense being with the high hopes and all the expectations being what it could be. I understand they were going up against an undermanned squad, but the ball movement, this idea of Stephanie White, now the head coach of the Fever, previously with the Connecticut Sun, telling them basically you can only hold the ball for 1 second and you have to pass. And so that Showtime vibe that you saw once upon a time with Magic Johnson, this idea of ball movement and not dribbling, not posting up, not trying to be physical in the paint, and it truly just being all about shooting and ball movement. That is what they're putting together. And so, listen, Caitlin played the first 3 quarters, and then they took her out, and she knew she was going to have to come out for the 4th quarter. And so she was like, I'm just going to chuck up a 3 from 36 feet out because it's a 2-for-1 opportunity, and why not? And it's just past the number 22 logo where she set the NCAA's all-time scoring record. And I saw someone tweet, they're like, this is the Green Goblin in her head, like the whole game. Like, she kept seeing it and was like, I got to go shoot from it. I got to go shoot past it. And then ultimately she did. And shout out to the folks at the University of Iowa who were great hosts. And I loved Brian Wright, who's been their lead photographer in the athletics department forever. He actually, he tweeted it out this morning. He's like, this is what happens when you've worked with the same student athletes. He had an idea in the back of his mind. He's like, oh, she's going to like force herself to at least make one from beyond the logo. And so he set up a camera to where you can see the retired number raised in the rafters, and you also see the shot. It's incredible. And cinematically, artistically, I was just like, oh, I'm glad they get to enjoy this. And I'm really glad, and it brings up an interesting talking point for all sports, not just women's basketball, but it brings up an interesting idea of these preseason exhibition games being played on college campuses. Let's say the NFL says, okay, we're only going to play 2 preseason games. But what if the Jaguars played a preseason game in Athens? What if they played a preseason game? Well, they may be playing their season. Right, I know. And that's, exactly. That's the obvious one. But how about, let's pick, in the case of the Dallas Cowboys, I know obviously they do their training camp out there in LA, in the Southern California area. But let's say they were to play a preseason game at Texas Tech,
the problem is, I think from what we've heard, the owners want the gate, right? Like they want the tickets for the preseason, which is why they won't give up those preseason games to begin with. So I guess you'd have to work out a way in which the owners still make the same amount of money if it's held at a neutral site.
I don't know exactly how, great point, Lauren. I don't know how that worked for yesterday's game because it was obviously sold out and it was like the highest price ticket you could get in the WNBA since 2015. But at the same time, the actual game day experience, it was everybody from Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Like the announcer, the people that were organizing the post-game and pre-game media availability, to who was handling operations, the music they were playing in the arena. It wasn't UI that was doing it. And that's why I'm very curious.
If it's all Jags people, you'd rent the stadium.
Right. And the question is, of course, well, we need NFL-ready locker rooms.
Yeah.
And that's obviously something the Jaguars are facing as they look for their home for that 2027 season.
Can't have them run into the porta potties.
Right. Correct. That only happens, but that does happen in Major League Baseball. So does Major League Baseball, kind of like how they've gone to Japan to play their first 2 regular season games, their first 3 regular season games, maybe that's an opportunity. And certainly spring training allows for a larger footprint for these professional clubs. Yeah. But this idea of people who might not otherwise be able to go and see you in your city, but they are fans of your team, I love it. And I honestly am going to be curious to see if other sports follow it for the preseason and exhibition games.
What was super competitive yesterday, Taylor, the game sevens in the NHL.
I know. I was just about to mention that. I was like, I'm guessing Mia was not watching
It's
the
funny.
Jets.
I've got a story.
Blues. Because they scored with like a minute and 1 second, 1.7 seconds or whatever it was.
Can I tell you this? It was 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
We had it on.
Mm-hmm.
We flipped over to the lacrosse bracket reveal show. 3-3.
Yeah.
We get a text. Shout out to Brandon and Dory, our Heeligans up in Fernandina. And Brandon texts us and is like, you guys got to turn it back on. It's in overtime. And I go, do you realize what you're doing?
Nobody's gonna
And he
score.
goes, I heard your segment last week. I know what this means. And we watched the entire overtime period.
2. It went to double over.
Yeah, because we watched the first overtime and no one scored.
So it's your fault.
It is my fault.
But that gives us overtime hockey, and I've said this before on the show, is one of the most stressful experiences in the whole world.
If it's your team.
Yeah, in general, like I'm not a fan. I hate the Blues, so maybe that added a little bit extra. That's like one of the Hawks' biggest rivals, so I can't stand them. So maybe that added extra for me. But just watching overtime hockey in general, it's so like my heart is racing the entire time.
All right, let's say hello to XO Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
Joe C., how was your weekend?
It was great. I love the Derby. I had a blast at the Best Bet. I cashed the ticket, so that was good.
Who'd you pick?
Sovereignty.
Oh,
and
you did.
I paired up a bunch of other things, but at the very least, I had the winning ticket because I just put 20 to win, and then I had a bunch of other ones that probably cost me a little bit more than I'm willing to admit, but whatever.
Were you dressed as if you were going to the Derby? Okay.
No, we had a great time.
No seersucker suit for you?
Yeah. We just went there and guzzled and gambled and had a great time. So it was fun. And we gave out horses on our show last week, and so whoever got Sovereignty will end up winning. But you go from there to the next one. I have no idea whether I'll have as much fun with that one, but this one's always just the best.
Yeah.
It's the first one. Churchill Downs always puts on a scene.
And you didn't have to pay that close of attention to the golf because Scotty Scheffler ran away with it.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
Have we ever seen a score quite like that at the Byron Nelson?
He was about to break the scoring record, which would have been 32 under par, and he ended up
right there.
31.
Yeah, he had a bogey the hole before, and then ended up making 31 under. And we've seen a few of them. You can go back in time on some softer golf courses, and this is not necessarily an easy golf course, so I was a little surprised. But he jetted out with a 61 and a 63, and then boom, it was lights out.
And then it was like an off day Saturday, and I'm like,
the cowboy hat looks good on him. I think he should rock that more often.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I saw a tweet, and it was like on Twitter. It has like the ice cold takes or whatever, or freezing cold takes, whatever, and it'll bring it back up. And someone had tweeted, and they were like, "Is Scheffler even going to win anything before the Ryder Cup? Because I don't think so." And then he did that this weekend, and the guy posted it on like Wednesday.
Yeah.
And he's won 14 times, and he barely started winning. He was on tour, I'm just going to say 3 or 4 years, something like that, before he won. And you're wondering, is this guy this and that? And then look at what he's done in that short amount of time. And he even left Jordan Spieth just basically depressed about how he couldn't beat him. He goes, I used to be better than him. I'm not as good as him right now.
But that is similar to what Rory McIlroy, I guess, has said in select interviews and behind the scenes of this idea of he got to 4 majors and Brooks Koepka had 0, and all of a sudden Brooks Koepka had 5 and he had 4. Now they are tied. And so maybe this creates another little parallel like that.
And I was ready to say, coming out of Augusta, that Rory is as complete a game player right now to do the Grand Slam in season. Well, here comes Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty's like, wait, not so fast, my friend.
That's right. All right, Joe, what's coming up?
So we'll do over the weekend, have a little bit of fun looking back at the Derby, but then also we're going to look back at 5-star recruits that were coming into college, how high they were drafted, those that didn't fulfill their promise either on a college football field or in the draft. And one of those, Jalen Rashada, is back in the news, so at least we've got to bring him back up. Have a little fun with that.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. Jaden Rashada headed to Sacramento State, everybody.
And not the basketball program, right? Now headed by Mike Bibby and Dr. Shaquille O'Neal.
That'll do it for us today. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. XO Primetime, talking Derby and a whole lot more is next.